All right, welcome to new group policy in Server 2008 R2. We're going to take a look at some of the new GPO toys that are available for you. And we're going to be kind of taking a tour of the planet a little bit. So in this video, we're going to start off with the new look, the new interface that we have for each of the GPO settings. These are super nice. I think you're really going to like it. I love it. I think it's great. They did a really nice job and in making the interface for accessing and turning these group policies on and understanding the group policies. That it's good stuff. Let's just put it like that. All right, we're also going to talk about power plan preferences, and we're going to get into looking at that. By the way, this isn't the group policy preferences. This isn't the policy object, even though, well, that's not really right either. It is part of the policy object, but it's in the preferences section. And we can actually set the power plan for our machines. The nifty thing about the interface for this, for both the XP power plan or power schemes and options, as well as the Vista and Windows 7 options, is that we can set them exactly like we would as if we were sitting on the machine. The user interface that we'll see is identical. I'm also going to show you the Internet Explorer 8 preferences. And hey, by the way, just so you know, there are 300 new policy settings and preferences settings in Server 2008 R2 in the Windows 7 set. Do I have time to show you all 300? No. But I can tell you that around 140 some of them are just for Internet Explorer 8. Yeah, 140 of those 300 new policy settings are just for IE8. So to kind of give you an idea of how much work they've really put into adopting IE8 into Windows 7 and R2. And last, I'm going to show you the new starter GPOs that come built into Server 2008 R2. We don't have to download the starter GPO templates anymore from Microsoft, so big fan of that. And you'll see that we can actually utilize their beginning best practice templates and make modifications as we see fit. All right, so that's what we're going to do in this video. Not a lot of theory in this instance. You already have a solid understanding of group policy, what it does, how to implement it, and all that good stuff. So let's just go ahead and get on into our little tour. Alright, so here I am over on the server manager. As you see, I'm on DC2 R2, by the way. If you're playing along at home, you can do this on any domain controller. But I'm just going to take you on a quick little tour of some of the new stuff in group policy. And so you can really do and follow along on any domain controller that you have set up if that's your preference. I'm going to go here to Features in the server manager and go to Group Policy Management. Of course, you could always go to the GPMC too if you wanted to by going to Start and Administrative Tools and, of course, Group Policy Management. But I'm just going to do it straight here in the server manager because that's how I roll. All right, so let's go into Domains and Global Semantics R2. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's create a new GPO that's linked to Pacific users. Okay, we'll start there. And that way we're not messing around with the default domain policy. Well, you can do this stuff on the default domain policy if you want to, but that may not necessarily be the most optimum, especially if you're just messing around and getting used to this kind of, getting used to and practicing with these new GPO settings. So let's go ahead and create a new GPO real quick, and we'll just call this guy Pacific. And I don't have any starter source GPOs because I haven't created any. I haven't actually loaded the source starter GPOs yet. We'll get to that towards the end of the video though. So we'll just start off with this Pacific policy, and let's go ahead and right click on this guy and edit it, and that'll open up our Group Policy Management Editor. And now I want to first start off by showing you the new interface for the GPO settings. So let's go ahead and let's go into Windows settings here underneath Computer Configuration. Oh, by the way, let me go ahead and show you something here real quick. On this particular policy object, I'm right-clicking up here on Pacific and going for Properties. You can turn off half of the group policy. You can disable the computer configuration. You can disable the user configuration. It'll give you a slight performance bump, so that way we don't have to parse out the entire policy object. You can just use one half or the other. All right, so just wanted to point that out to you real quick. And let's go ahead and get into the policies here. Let's see, what are we doing? And let's go ahead and Windows settings. Let's not do that. Let's do something in administrative templates, because this is something you're probably more familiar with. I'm just going to open up all settings, and let's just do a scroll down here and find something that's kind of fun. I'll tell you what, let's do prevent installation of removable devices. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this guy up. This is probably going to be an administrative favorite, especially in high security environments where you don't want users walking off with data on USB sticks. Look at this screen. Okay, look at this thing. Isn't this beautiful? Everything's in one form. You can put comments up here if you want. You can enable, disable it, and then your help is right here. This will tell you all about the policy, what's going to happen if you enable or disable or do not configure it, and it'll also tell you what it's supported on. This is supported on at least Windows Vista, so it's not going to work on XP, right? But it's all in one sheet. There's no extra tabs to click on. The options, any options, let's cancel this guy out. Let's see if we can find one with options. Nope, that's not it. Let's go ahead and open up a reserve battery notification level. Let's say this policy is for laptop machines. When you enable it, the option becomes available to you immediately. That's kind of nice. So I mean, this is really the one of the key elements of the interface. It's also stretchy, by the way, so you can maximize it if you so desire. Resize it, just in case there's so much stuff on a particular object screen. You want to see everything here in the help box. It's stretchy. Isn't that cool? Let's go ahead and close that guy. So just wanted to show that to you real quick. I think it's a super nice enhancement to working with group policy, because everything is there in one sheet on one screen. No extra tabs. It's just there. All right, next what I'd like to show you is the power management stuff. Now we can actually, let's close out the administrative templates. Let's go into preferences, and let's go to control panel settings and power options. And just so you know, you can also do this per user. All right, so don't think that this is only the computer configuration side. We can also set power policies on both the computer side and on the user side. So keep that in mind. You're going to pretty much get the same thing. The only difference is one is going to apply to a set of users, the other one's going to apply to a set of computers, no matter who's logged on to it, right? So let's see, I think right now I'm selecting the user configuration option. Let's do this per computer. How about that? Let's go into power options, and now I'm going to right click in the blank box here and select new. And now I can create a new power options set of preferences. I can do the power scheme. These two are for XP. And then for Windows Vista and for Windows 7, I can do power plans. And so let's go ahead and let's start off in the power options for XP. Notice the user interface. It looks pretty much like you're setting in front of the Windows XP machine, right? So that's pretty nice, pretty nifty. And you could turn stuff on and off as you see fit. Let's go ahead and let's do one for the power plan. And right click, we can create a power plan for Vista and for Windows 7 machines. Let's start off with the actions. You can create, replace, update, or delete. Chances are you're mostly going to be just doing the updating, okay? Or you can replace one, I suppose. But we can go ahead and set it to update, and we can set the particular plan as the active power plan. We can do this for an entire set of client machines, so that's kind of nifty. Now, our power plan, we have a lot more granularity than what we've had in the past. We can decide exactly what's going to happen when a machine is on battery or when it's plugged in. Obviously, if it's a desktop, the battery settings are irrelevant. So we don't have to worry so much about the battery settings if you're creating a set of preferences for your desktop machines. But we can do stuff for your laptops too. So we have that dual functionality, and you simply select the option that you want and turn it on or off, or let's say like the sleep option, sleep after 15 minutes or whatever it is. Whatever it is that you decide is a good idea for your particular power usage. We can set this stuff very granularly. And again, this user interface, we're looking at it as though we were sitting right in front of a Vista or Windows 7 machine. So we have that flexibility and that ease of use, that we don't have to do anything weird. We don't have to sort through a whole bunch of policies. We just decide what the policy is going to be and set it and done. That's it. All right, so let's take a look in the Common tab here real quick. Let me talk to you about item level targeting for preferences. This has also been enhanced in Server 2008 R2. I'm going to put a check mark here in item level targeting, and we can actually target specific machines based on specific criteria. Now, this is not a new item, but it has been enhanced with more options. And first of all, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the operating system. Let's go ahead and select, if the operating system is Windows 7, then we'll go ahead and apply a particular preference on that particular machine. We can also add in additional operating systems too. Let's go ahead and switch this guy to Windows Vista. And let's also add an additional operating system item. Now this is kind of a duh statement a little bit because these particular power plans are only going to apply to Vista or Windows 7 anyway. But we'll go ahead and we'll turn on this targeting for these two particular operating systems, so that way the group policy refresh won't try to attach these two items to Windows 7. You know what? By the way, this says and the operating system is Windows 7. That's not right. Okay, because that would mean that both Vista and Windows 7 would have to be installed on the machine. That's not going to work. So let's go ahead and make sure that the item option for 7 is set to or. We have and, or, is not, and label. Let's go ahead and set it to or. So that way, this particular setting will either only be applied if, and you can imagine kind of the word if in front of these particular items. If the operating system is Windows Vista or the operating system is Windows 7, then apply this policy. Now we can also specify additions, including 64-bit, Ultimate, Enterprise, whatever it is. Release, we can specify specific service packs if we have any installed. This might give us something better if we select Vista here. We can allow any of these preferences to only be applied to, let's say Service Pack 1, or if we have XP in here for a particular preference, we can say only Service Pack 2, so on and so forth. And we can also specify roles if that is the case. So, targeting I think is cool because this also allows us to not have to wrestle WMI stuff for specific or simplistic preferences. So that's also a golden bonus here for us. It's simplifying our centralized management, and especially if you work in a network that you have a variety of different operating systems running, different models of hardware running. We can specify things like processor speed, if the battery is present, how much free disk space we have on a particular machine, MAC address range, operating systems, organizational units. We have all of these very kind of granular methodologies here. We can specify a RAM option. If a machine has, let's say, half a gig of RAM, then do this particular preference. All kinds of really cool stuff that we can use to separate out our group policy preferences so that it will apply to some machines if in fact the machine meets a particular set of criteria, and it will not happen if the machine does not fit the criteria. So we do have, like I said, we have many more options and much more granularity in our targeting than what we had previously. All right, so that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and create this plan here real quick, and this particular plan would then apply to any machines that are in that specific user's organizational unit. And we don't have any particular machines in that, but if we did, we could use that. All right, so let's go ahead, and I think that will wrap up our power options section. And again, you can make use of this if you think that this is going to really help you conserve some of your power. I mean, let's face it, if you have 250 machines in your organization, and let's say if those machines are running all the time, that's going to cost you a lot of dollars over the long haul. But if you turn on a power plan or any variation of this, and it doesn't matter if it's Windows XP or a Windows 7 machine, you can have the monitor turn off after, say, 15 minutes. And when people go to lunch or they go to a meeting, their monitor just automatically turns off. Guess what? That's juice you're not using, right? Which means that's electricity that you're not paying for, or at least the company isn't paying for, as the case may be. So think of this power plan option as a money saver, and another good reason to upgrade to Server 2008 and also to Server 2008 R2. So if you're needing some good selling points to talk to management about, this is one of them. Okay? This is worth the money for the upgrade by itself. There's a very significant potential for saving literally thousands of dollars over even the space of just a year by simply turning on a power plan for all of your desktops. Let's move on to Internet Explorer 8 preferences next. And like I told you earlier, the Internet Explorer 8, there's actually a lot more than just the preferences. And tell you what, let's go ahead and let's go back into administrative templates and just go to all settings. I want to go ahead and turn on a filter here just real quick and show you what it is. And let's see here, Internet Explorer 8. I'm going to go ahead and take that out of the filter. I'm just going to go ahead and enable the requirements for Internet Explorer 8, and we'll see all of the items that apply to Internet Explorer 8. And we do have quite a few of them. And some of these are new, some of these are not, just so you know. But I mean, there are a lot of differing policies for just running Internet Explorer 8. And one thing that you might want to look at, let's see here, turn off toolbar upgrade tool. Let's go ahead and open this guy up. The toolbar upgrade tool will check to see if incompatible toolbars are browser helper objects. Oh yes, we all love browser helper objects, don't we? No, we don't. Why? Because you probably already know that a lot of browser helper objects are actually spyware and adware. So we try to avoid those in the enterprise when we can, unless of course you have a specific browser helper object that you employ in your network. Let's see, let's scroll down here and let's take a look at turn on Internet Explorer 7 standards mode. Now, on occasion, what we may end up seeing with Internet Explorer 8 is that you might end up with a website that may not play as well in Internet Explorer 8 as it does in 7. And we might see this more so probably in intranet sites than we will in World Wide Web sites. But what we can do is we can actually turn on this particular item, and notice here that this is supported on at least Internet Explorer 8. We can actually enable this compatibility view so that if in case we do have a website that does not render well in IE 8, we can actually have it still render according to the Windows or the Internet Explorer 7 standards instead of IE 8, making it look nice and pretty for your users instead of all scrolled up. And hopefully we won't see a lot of this, but there's a pretty good chance we'll see some of this happen in any given enterprise. So something that you might want to keep in mind, let's go ahead and we'll turn that guy on. That'll be just fine. Turn on menu bar by default. I like this one, just so you know. Now this one is at least Internet Explorer 7. This isn't really new, but I'm going to go ahead and enable this anyway because I like it. And you might like it too. Alright, so there's a huge amount of settings for Internet Explorer 8. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the preferences now in terms of Internet Explorer 8 here. Let's go to Internet Settings under here, and I'm actually underneath the user configuration this time instead of the computer configuration. You notice here that I am in Preferences, Control Panel Settings, and Internet Settings. Let's right click and select New. I can create internet settings for 5 and 6, for 7, and for 8 as well. So if you are deploying Internet Explorer 8 all throughout your network, or it's already been deployed, you can actually create an internet settings set of preferences specifically for IE8 for all of your users. So you don't have to run scripts to do any of that. We can set it all here. And again, notice the interface. The interface is exactly the user interface you would see as if you're sitting at a client machine. We can set our preferences like we normally would and blow them out to all of our machines in our network. Isn't that beautiful? I think that's beautiful. And the group policy preferences makes a lot of the stuff that we were used to super easy. Alright, so we'll go ahead and we'll tell that one okay. That will create an Internet Explorer 8 settings preferences set for us to blow out on the next group policy refresh. Alright, so that's good enough for right now. I just wanted to show you a few of those and show you what you can do with these different preferences, what they have enhanced, and you probably have noticed several enhancements if you're used to working with group policy there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the starter GPOs next, all right? I'm clicking here on starter GPOs. Notice that I have not created the starter GPOs folder yet, so let's go ahead and do that. You notice that it does not currently exist in the domain. All right, let's go ahead and click on create starter GPOs folder, and that will create for us a set of starter policy objects that we can utilize right out of the box. And these are super nice because they already begin with a lot of common settings, a lot of best practice settings. You can determine whether or not you want to keep those practice settings, but when you create new group policies, let's go ahead and let's do that here real quick. Let's create another new group policy for Pacific users here. Let's right click. We'll create a GPO in the domain. We'll utilize one of our starter policies here. Let's go ahead and go for the Windows Vista EC user. We'll tell it OK, and that will create for us a new group policy. You know what? Let's give it a new name, and we'll call this guy Win Vista. There we go. Because we'll start, anything we set in it will be also applicable to 7 and Vista at the same time. All right, let's go into the user configurations, go into policies and administrative templates and all settings. And let's see what's actually turned on. I'm going to go to the standard mode, and we're going to select state, and we'll see what has been enabled and what has been disabled. I'm going to expand this a little bit. So here are some beginning administrative template items that have already been set for us from the GPO starter template. You don't have to go through and add these if you don't want. Now, here's one that's kind of interesting, kind of weird to me. Configure Outlook Express. What's up with that? Let's open that guy up. Why is this why is this included in the Windows Vista item? Let's just take a look here in the comments. Outlook Express is not included in Windows Vista. Duh, thanks. However, this setting is configured in the starter GPO to help maintain compatibility with computers running Windows XP in the enterprise client. Okay, that's great. It's configured. It's not going to hurt anything. But if all you're going to be applying this policy to is an OU filled with Windows 7 or Vista machines, it's not going to help or hurt. Now, since this particular policy is a copy of that starter GPO, which I know you already know that, right? You already know this is just a copy. We can create as many copies of that particular starter GPO policy. We can mess with this one all we want, no big deal. We can always go back and get a fresh, clean template from our starter GPOs by creating a new GPO. So something to kind of just keep in mind. And let's right click. Let's look at the properties of this guy. We should also, if this is going to be a user side policy only, we should go ahead and disable the computer configuration settings. And we'll go ahead and we'll tell that OK. And now we can go through and make whatever other adjustments to this particular policy object that we so desire. Let's go ahead and close this guy off, and let's go back to the starter GPOs. Now, let me tell you about these different GPOs, and of course you can look through them on your own and see what they had decided there's going to be a good set of starter policies for you. But these are for standard machines that are going to be in your enterprise. These two here, the SSLF policies, these are for extremely secure situations. You may or may not use these, okay, just so you know. And of course we have some Windows XP policies, similar kind of thing. We have 2 of them for Service Pack 2. These are your standard items, and these are for your super secure locations. Things like if you're going to run like a kiosk or something like that. So you're probably not going to use these as much. Let's go ahead and let's create a new GPO here for a computer. Let's just take a look at what the SSLF items actually have in them. Let's go into group policy here. It's in our new group policy object. Let's go ahead and edit this bad boy and see what they have turned on and what they have turned off for it. Let's start off by policies and administrative templates and all settings. We'll hit standard, and let's see what actually is configured. Oh, look, there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that they have enabled and disabled for us. And of course, we could turn on or turn some of these off. This is a different group policy object. It's not linked to anything because I didn't actually link it to any OU. But we could turn stuff off, turn stuff on as need be. Let's go ahead and delete that extra policy. All right, so that's pretty much all I wanted to show you in terms of the group policy stuff. I think these are things you're going to get the most mileage out of. And let's go ahead and roll them on over to our slides and let's do a little wrap up. Alright, so after watching this video, you should be able to admire the new interface. I mean, some of these policies, they can get kind of convoluted, and having that help screen right there helps me to understand that stuff right off the bat. So I'm sure you'll probably get a lot of mileage out of that. You should also be able to set power preferences for Windows XP, Vista, and for Windows 7 clients using those new power preferences that we saw earlier in the video. Also, you should be able to find the Internet Explorer 8 group policy settings using those filter options that I showed to you, and you saw that was not hard. It's not hard to find that stuff. They're in there. You should also be able to set IEA options in group policy preferences. And last but not least, you should be able to install and use the built-in starter GPOs as a base for creating new GPOs. And when I say install, I mean click the button that says, put in the new starter GPOs, right? And create that folder. So, I mean, the installation process is literally a singular click. And then to use those templates, you just simply right-click on it and create a new policy from it, or you can create a new policy and select one of those starter GPOs to begin with. All right, well, that's all I got for you on this one. I'll see you in the next video.